My name is Chris Pastina. I'm a Senior Practice Manager of Advanced Computing for Professional Services, Expert Services. I'm going to kick things off here. I'm here with Kevin Cox. He's the Chief Cloud Architect for Gilead. I'm going to kick things off. I'm going to start with AWS's perspective on enterprise transformation and cloud operating model, and the key role that they play throughout your operational excellence, throughout your journey. And then I'm going to hand off to Kevin. Kevin's going to dive into Gilead's cloud journey and how they're achieving operational excellence and share with you the good stuff, the lessons learned. And then finally, I'm going to finish the session by sharing with you AWS professional services best practices and how we handle and we implement enterprise transformation and cloud operating model. So let's go, if I could figure this out. So as you begin your enterprise transformation journey, it's critical to build a solid foundation. And that starts with establishing clearly and defining those business objectives, and then working backwards from those business objectives. And then that's really going to inform how you're going to design your operating model, which is basically going to drive the success of your journey. With your business objectives defined, it's super important to gain alignment across leadership and then across all levels of the organization. I can't stress enough how important it is to have leadership alignment across business and IT organizations that are clearly aligned on a vision, a strategy, and an approach in order to build that momentum and that buy-in across the enterprise. Without it, it's going to be super difficult to achieve the level of progress at the level of velocity to really meet your objectives in a feasible time. And then third, focus on execution and delivery by building teams and enabling teams with the right skills and commitment to establish that governance through automation. You don't want it to be manual. Build and deliver value incrementally, and then continuously measure your progress, and then build and then refine incrementally. So keep in mind, the cloud transformation is not an end in itself, but it's a means to drive your specific business outcomes, whether that's increasing agility, reducing cost, or even identifying new revenue streams, or all of the above. So next, let's take a look at some critical success factors. So here we have a number of success factors you really should consider when you're embarking on your journey. You know, first, maintain a relentless customer focus. Ensure every decision and solution that you develop ties back to providing value to your customer, really delivering what they want when they need it. And then enable high quality, high velocity decision making by empowering your teams to make decisions and then own what they build. And then connected with that, enable your teams to experiment. Allow them to experiment and take advantage of non-production AWS environments to innovate, test new ideas and solutions with minimal risk. And really in support of that, to build a culture that embraces failure as a natural part of innovation and viewing it as an opportunity to learn and improve without the fear of being penalized. So embrace failure is really important. Also, create a nimble organizational structure that breaks down the silos and embraces cross-functional collaboration. This includes small teams with a high degree of autonomy to enable quick decision-making and then delegating that ownership. And then lastly, think big. Prioritize long-term sustained value incrementally by continuously iterating and optimizing to drive incremental value over time for your customers. Now let's take a look at 3 building blocks that fundamentally changes and drives your transformation. So, of course, you have people, you have process and technology. For people, which often is overlooked in its importance, I can't tell you how often we see customers that are struggling once they finish their migration because they've underestimated the need to modernize and change their operations to be able to operate efficiently in the cloud. Use partners to help you augment and get that experience to help you accelerate during your transformation. It's super important. For process, adopt a product-centric approach. Think agile, right? Focused on delivering value rapidly and iterating based on your customers' feedback. Streamline, automate, and standardize processes wherever possible to minimize that manual tasks and the potential for defects. And also leverage, use data to drive your decisions. Finally, for technology, technology is basically the enabler, right? So you really need to get your people, the culture, and your processes right. So with technology, you focus on building resilient, scalable IT infrastructure and applications to run optimally, specifically for the cloud. Also, embrace modernization. Modernization allows you to achieve the benefits of operating in the cloud by leveraging cloud-native services like containers, serverless, and AI/ML, and essentially building that self-service to enable teams to move with high levels of velocity independently without holding them back. Remember these 3 domains, they're inseparable. You can't do one without the other. You really aren't going to be successful unless you focus across. So here, in this slide, it highlights the critical need to establish a business model with convergent business and technology outcomes, right? At the center, you have aligned objectives and capabilities between business and IT organization. This addresses the common disconnect that leads to siloed operations and slow execution. How often do you see stalled programs because you don't have that connection? On the business side, we want to drive new ideas and innovation. Rapid speed to market with customer impact and minimal time to realize business value and results. Simultaneously, on the technology side, it's important to achieve operational excellence, cost optimization through efficient resource utilization, and robust security and compliance postures. Absolutely essential. The key here is the intersection. That's represented by the joint processes and the joint workforce, where business and IT operate in alignment and seamless collaboration. And they basically have shared goals. I know that seems, it's rough, right? Getting that alignment and the collaboration between business and IT, but you really can't move forward. It's not just an IT initiative. You need the business to drive that. So really the days of IT being a support organization, they're over. IT needs a seat at the table. They need to be an enabler, partnered with the business to drive those shared organizational goals. So this convergence and is enabled by 3 overarching drivers: You have innovation to continuously explore new ideas, insights to make data-driven decisions, and modernization to embrace cloud-native technologies and new ways of working. Now let's take a look at an operating model. So when our team goes in to customers and we meet with customers, it's essential that we align on what a cloud operating model is and what it isn't. An optimal cloud operating model essentially is the backbone of your enterprise transformation. It's made up of capabilities and processes. It needs to effectively build, mature, and optimize infrastructure, applications, operations, and business in the cloud. Not one, all of those. The cloud operating model isn't just an IT initiative. You'll hear me say it ad nauseum. It's a catalyst for the enterprise-wide transformation, driving tangible business outcomes. So let's look at increasing operational excellence. So it's highly recommended to leverage cloud best practices to accelerate your implementation, develop capabilities that are lean and highly automated processes to drive operational efficiency, and then regularly review your processes against those best practices to ensure that you continuously improve. This is essentially important. I've seen it, it's greatly important when you have cross-functional application support models. You really need to tie the things together and ensure that your workflow is efficient and you're leveraging as much automation and technology to enable those processes as possible. Next, a thoughtful cloud operating model decreases time to value. This involves adopting cloud-oriented processes and high degree of automation and cloud-native services that streamline operations, accelerate innovation and value realization, automation of manual tasks and governance, as well as managed services, will increase the velocity. And then increase in transparency. This is really an important one because enterprise transformation is a big undertaking. It's really a large change management exercise. So this is about building trust in your organization. People want to know what's going on. They want to know what's in it for them. So frequently communicate frequently and broadly. They need to know what the value is. And they need to recognize that this is worth being part of the journey. They need to know what's going well. They need to know what's not going so well and what we're going to do to make it better. So really, the result is enhanced accountability and more effective communications. And lastly, it's not clicking. Oh, wrong button. Sorry. So an optimal cloud operating model increases your organization's ability to evolve and drive change. Like I said, it's a huge change management exercise. As we discussed, this involves refer to holistic development of your people, your process, and your technology capabilities by assessing your current state against your desired state, and measuring your progress, and then iterating, and then making improvements. That's really your approach to go towards a successful implementation. So let's take a look at examples of cloud operating model organizational structures. So you see here, there's several different examples. These are just examples. There's so many different variants of these. So again, work backwards from your business objectives to determine the right cloud operating model for your organization. As you think about establishing a cloud operating model, it's really important to understand what the options are. Unfortunately, there is no one size fits all. So many times customers will ask me, okay, just tell us what it should be. And I say, well, it depends. So the optimal approach depends on your specific business objectives, your current situation of your organization, what the priorities are. There may be some tactical things that need to be addressed along the way, and really the culture. The culture is a big factor in how you should design your new operating model. So first, let's look at a centralized operating model. It's where you have a centralized team. They provision and manage cloud resources for lines of business app dev teams. This provides a high degree of centralized governance and control, and it's often a good starting point for customers that are just starting their journey. Next, there's the tiered model. It follows a federated structure. At the enterprise, the top level, you typically have a cloud business organization, architecture, platform engineering, and security. And then at that middle tier, you delegate some of the responsibilities to your lines of business, right? So then they're closer to the customer, so they know the customer best. So then they're going to be able to do the right thing, give the customers what they need when they need it. So typically we'll see customers that are currently in a centralized operating model, and they're looking to transition to a tiered model because they're unable to scale. They've outgrown it. The line of business is complaining. You want to eliminate those shadow IT organizations. So they basically are looking to delegate more of the responsibility, and that's really what's driving the change. Then we have a distributed model. Often you'll see this with holding companies, and it's highly decentralized. Each line of business kind of has their own platform, infrastructure, and app dev teams. They kind of move on their own, they're high level of velocity, etc. However, it's not efficient, right? When you look at it from a holistic perspective, enterprise, it's not efficient because you're going to have a lot of redundancy. There's going to be overlap. Business units are going to do their own thing. Very little sharing, so it's not cost efficient. And then hub and spoke. This one is the most mature model. This is where you have a centralized platform team acting as the hub, enabling the spoke, the app dev teams with self-service so they can move on their own, so they can safely, within guardrails, build, publish, and deploy on their own with minimal dependency on a centralized group. So really, regardless of the model you choose, embrace the core tenets of breaking down silos, fostering a product-centric mindset, and enabling self-service capabilities for team autonomy. Next, let's look at some capabilities that are within a cloud operating model. So, cloud operating model is made up of capabilities and processes with specific tasks and actions that follow cross-functional workflows. So here, AWS has grouped our capabilities in 4 pillars. Currently, we have over 70 capabilities that AWS focuses on. Here's just a subset of some of the primary ones. So let's start with the business strategy pillar, which is about leveraging the cloud to achieve strategic outcomes. It involves working backwards from from your desired objectives, defining clear value propositions, creating measurable outcomes, and then developing roadmaps to maximize value across the enterprise. FinOps pillar, it focuses on managing the financial aspects of your cloud assets. It establishes common financial models such as chargeback or showback across the organization. It implements cost optimization techniques, and it automates budgeting, forecasting, and reporting. The operations pillar is important for evolving your cloud operating model and ensuring the operational resilience that your organization needs. It involves benchmarking your current maturity levels, developing and maturing your processes, matching strategy to planning and execution, and designing cloud operations playbooks, patterns, and so that you could really deliver consistently and efficiently. And then the people and culture pillar, like I said earlier, often overlooked, but super important. It's about establishing an environment of continuous learning and innovation. It aligns your functional leaders, develops new talent, builds an organizational structure, defines your roles and responsibilities. It really enables faster product delivery and scales foundational cloud skills across your enterprise. So next, let's take a look at a capability maturity progression. So this slide shows a journey, a stepped approach as you mature. Thinking about this, coming in, let's think about you've migrated, you have a on-premise traditional IT operating model. So how are you going to mature and get to a cloud native cloud operating model? So the journey delivers value at each maturity level. We start with legacy on-premises operating capabilities and progressively build the maturity and the automation you need to, including each step you have like cloud enablement, cloud-driven services, and then really the automation and establishing that self-service you need to really drive forward and operate optimally in the cloud. So ultimately, you reach the highest level, which enables the continuous improvement through adaptive self-optimizing capabilities powered by AI/ML and real-time analytics. The key is really implementing mechanisms to strategically mature capabilities across all domains: strategy, finance, operations, and people. Like I said earlier, super critical to have a modernization as part of your strategy, and that includes your operations, not just your applications and infrastructure. So now I'm going to hand off to Kevin, and he's going to dive into Gilead's cloud journey with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris, and thank you all for joining this session today. My name is Kevin Cox. I'm the Chief Cloud Architect at Gilead, and I'm excited to talk about our journey with operational excellence in the cloud. Let's start off with the scenario. It's 5 o'clock on Friday, you're ready to start your weekend, and you get a call that there's a production outage in a critical system. Your team is then requested to join a P1 bridge to resolve this issue. How many of you have faced a similar situation like this? It's not fun, right? And that's our goal as Gilead, is to avoid those situations in the first place by moving up that maturity curve that Chris mentioned. And if we can't avoid them, to have a way to resolve those issues as quickly as possible and to get to root cause and resolve the issue fast. Now, in our case, those outages could actually literally impact people's lives. Gilead is a life sciences company, and we're targeting therapeutics in the area of virology, inflammatory, and oncology diseases. And we've been on a journey to the cloud over the past several years. And I'm happy to announce that this year we've actually met our migration targets from our data centers into the AWS cloud. And we couldn't have done this without AWS ProServe. They helped us not only with the migration, but also to help define the cloud platform that we use to migrate the workloads into. Now we're to a point where we can start focusing on modernizing those workloads and leveraging innovative technologies like generative AI. So what have we accomplished so far with this migration? Well, we've moved hundreds of critical applications from our on-prem data centers into the cloud, and we've deployed new workloads, such as SAP, that's driving over 85% of our revenue for Gilead. We're also deploying a high-performance compute environment in AWS that's a hybrid high-performance compute environment, as well as other vendor package solutions and custom-built solutions across our lines of business. We've also built a data and AI platform that allows thousands of data scientists and data engineers to source data products, refine them, and publish them for other teams to leverage across the enterprise. And we've also enabled teams to build complex AI/ML use cases on top of that data and move them to production quickly. So what are some of the benefits that our business has seen from this cloud migration so far? Well, like other industries, we're seeing a big benefit in this convergence of cloud, data, and AI across our entire value stream. So starting with drug discovery, our scientists are able to leverage vast amounts of data, both public and private data sets, in order to uncover the next target drug. And they're also able to run analyses against that data in near real time by spinning up the compute that they need to uncover those insights. Clinical trials are very complicated, and they produce a lot of clinical and operational data. And there's a lot of hidden insights in that data. And our teams are using the cloud to be able to analyze those data sets in order to efficiently optimize our clinical trials and get to results more quickly. From a manufacturing perspective, we're using IoT sensors within the facilities to measure the environmental conditions as well as the health of the equipment, and sending that data in near real time to the cloud to analyze that data and look for anomalies so that we can avoid outages in our manufacturing process. From a commercialization perspective, our teams are leveraging worldwide data sets in order to target marketing for our drugs to the right patients at the right time using targeted information. Now, all of this starts with our cloud strategy. We're a cloud-first organization now, and our goal is to get away from static IT assets and allow our business teams to self-service and get the resources that they need in order to meet their business goals. In addition, this required a cultural shift. We had to move away from, again, the traditional IT model of everything being centralized to understanding what are the key capabilities in the cloud and allowing our teams to use those capabilities and moving more towards a data-centric mindset. Underpinning all of this, we had to make sure that security and governance was foundational and automated and built into the platform from the start. So you might ask, what are the different areas that we focused on to improve our operational excellence in the cloud? And your journey may be different, but these are the areas that we're focused on. I'll dig into each of these areas in coming slides, but like Chris mentioned, it's not just an IT technical change. It's a cultural shift. It's an alignment in how you're operating your IT organization along with the business teams and making sure that you have proper engagement. And it's also ensuring that you don't give up the things that are critical to your business, such as the governance and making sure that you're compliant. We live in a very regulated industry, and it's not optional for us to not have governance on our IT infrastructure. Now, the first area is business alignment. So at Gilead, we have some pretty lofty strategic business goals, such as delivering 10 or more transformative therapies by 2030. And in order to accomplish that goal, we have to become more innovative as an organization, from top to bottom. And from an IT perspective, that changes our strategy. We really needed to become more nimble and allow teams to be self-service so that we don't become a bottleneck and our business teams can accomplish our business priorities. So how did we handle that from a transformation perspective? How did we move from a traditional IT organization to cloud first? And I'll be the first to say we're not there yet, right? I mean, this is a journey, right? We're definitely, I'm not going to stand up here and say we're done. We're not. And the business alignment is a key area of focus for us. We're using our enterprise architecture team to work with each line of business to identify capability and maturity assessments to ensure that we understand where are the gaps that we have today in our capabilities, and put those on a roadmap, and as part of our annual funding, make sure that they get funded. That helps us as an IT organization understand where the business is going to make sure that we build the capabilities that the business needs ahead of time. Now, Chris really focused on people, and it can't be overstated how important it is to have a cultural change as you migrate to the cloud. We had the benefit of our CIO making a top-down directive within our IT organization that we were going to do this, and that helps. You have to have the air cover. You have to have that support from the top. But the other thing is having the ability for your teams to upskill. They want to learn the new technologies. They want to move their careers forward. That's a very important thing, and I think everybody wants to move their careers forward. The other challenge that we have is, like most pharma companies, we're heavily outsourced. So picking the right partners is critical. You have to make sure that your partners are skilled in the technology that you're moving to, which is why we heavily use PRO302 because they're experts in the AWS technology. Now I'm going to dig into this a little bit more in the next slide, but from a technology perspective, again, to move to this self-service model, we had to build several platforms that our business teams could leverage in order to take advantage of the AWS technology without having to become experts in every single service, because there's a ton of them, right? And they're constantly evolving. Now, from an operations perspective, it was really important that we have end-to-end observability for our workloads. And with that goal in mind, we leveraged Dynatrace as an observability platform, an APM platform, on our critical workloads. And that's something that we deployed this year to get that observability. We also made sure that our change management was very rigorous and aligned with our normal change management processes across the organization. Now, this is an area that we're trying to find what the right balance is, because as you're running platforms in the cloud, one small change can impact a broad set of applications. But in order to get that change into production, you can't hinder yourself by getting approval from every single application. So we're trying to find that balance of what are the high critical, high risk changes, and make sure that we're getting the right approvals at the right time to move fast, but also responsibly. Now, just digging into the technology part of it a little bit more. So we look at this as kind of building blocks that get more abstract as you go up, right? So at the bottom layer, AWS provides all of the great services that we're hearing about at this conference, and they continue to evolve. Now, the next layer is Gilead's cloud platform, and we've curated a set of those services, hardened them for Gilead's purposes, and made those available as part of our cloud platform in a self-service model. And that allows teams to build their own workloads using CI/CD pipelines and operate them in their own AWS accounts independently. Oops, sorry, did not mean to click that. On top of that, we abstract another layer up with our data platform, and that allows teams to curate data products using data pipelines and ingestion of data in a safe, secure way, and publish those data products to a data mesh as part of a data catalog where other teams can go discover those data products and request them for usage. Going up another level, we have AI and analytics platform that teams can use to build those types of workloads. And the line of business team at the very top can build their unique specific applications on top of all of these platforms. Now, digging into the cloud platform a little bit more, the first area that we started with was automated account provisioning. And this is important because we want teams to be able to deploy their workloads quickly in the right environment, autonomously without having to engage with, be hindered by the cloud platform team. And once you have an account, what's the next step? Well, you want to be able to build your application, write the code in a secure way, deploy it to an environment that you can then test and operate it. And so we built CI/CD pipelines using GitHub Actions that allows teams to go from source code as infrastructure as code and deploy it into their AWS account for provisioning of their application so that they can operate it safely. And we also have centralized logging and observability for our security team to ensure that everything is monitored through our SIEM and we can ensure compliance. So this is a picture of what our cloud platform looks like. We started with the foundation. We heavily utilized AWS's Control Tower Landing Zone solution, as well as Account Factory for Terraform. And that concept of centralized versus distributed, we went with kind of a hybrid approach where there's key capabilities within the platform that we want centralized, such as networking, DNS, user authentication. Those are things that our platform team has to own and control. But we want to give autonomy to our teams to be able to provision their own workloads. If they want to spin up a new database, a new server, they have the freedom to do that within their own workload accounts. And it's critical that you get the OU structure right for your organization to make sure that you have the right service control policies in place to enforce the right guardrails. We offer 4 different types of accounts. Actually 5, sorry. Sandbox accounts, which are time-based and don't have a lot of controls on them. They're sort of a playground, right? Teams can try out new services. It's not connected to the Gilead network, so it's safe from a security perspective. And then we have the traditional development, test, and production, and then also validation for GXP workloads, which is a requirement for our industry. The next step is the provisioning, right? As you're provisioning workloads, we have that CI/CD pipeline that I mentioned, and we're driving everything through Terraform to make sure that it's repeatable across these environments, and we have the ability to scan the infrastructure ahead of time to make sure that it's compliant. The last area is security, and so security is everything, underpinning everything that we do. We use a least privilege model, and all of this is tied into our enterprise Okta single sign-on environment, so that as teams authenticate into this environment, we know who they are, we can audit their actions. And then we've also moved to a just-in-time provisioning for production access, so that we have very limited human access to production, and everything's done through pipelines. If there is a support issue, teams can request access, and it's time limited, so that we give them the permissions and then we take it away when that change is completed. From a data and AI platform capability, this is all about building data products, right? So it's how do you source the data, how do you build those pipelines, how do you build master data across the enterprise, and then how do you publish that to a data catalog for other teams to consume in a safe way. And then for AI workloads, we also have ML ops and now LLM ops to ensure that teams are using those technologies in a responsible way. And we can monitor them and improve them as they go into production. Now, we call this the Gilead DNA platform, and it's built on top of our cloud platform. And the initial set is the ingestion of the data, right? So the data pipelines, how do you source the data from external systems or internal systems? How do you process that data through different phases, right? So we use the medallion architecture of bronze, silver, and gold data sets, so that as you move that data through the different processes, they're able to be published to a data catalog which is the top layer. So there's a data mesh. Teams can publish their data products to that data mesh. We use the Informatica IDMC product as our data catalog. And then on the right-hand side is the consumption layer. So now that you have data products published, teams can use a variety of different tools, custom-built applications, BI tools, AI applications to consume those data sets once they've been requested that access from the owning team and been granted that access. And this is a very important concept from a data mesh perspective, because each line of business can own their own data sets. They're the experts. The commercial team is the experts in the commercial data. Researchers are the experts in their data. So we're getting away from this centralized model and allowing teams to build their own schemas, manage their own pipelines, and share them with other teams in a responsible way. Now, from a cloud operating model perspective, just starting at the bottom layer, we have a cloud platform engineering team. That's the team that we started out with PRO302 and have augmented with other consultants in order to build our cloud platform. And we're building those capabilities and making them available to the teams above. We also have kind of a virtual cloud business office, right? So our cloud team works with all the different lines of business to get input on requirements and to feed that into the cloud platform engineering team so that we can provide those capabilities. We also have an MSP provider, Cognizant, that runs the platform. So it's very critical that those two teams have tight integration, and documentation is foundational. Make sure that everything is documented. We have a good handoff between our support and operations team. And I will say we're in the process of moving more towards a DevOps model. It's a little bit difficult when you have such a broad usage of different customers, but that's definitely our goal, to move more towards DevOps, even for the cloud platform engineering side. We work very closely with our enterprise architecture team to do architecture reviews as well, so that as workloads come into the cloud, they're reviewed against our standards. We publish a set of patterns that teams can use for typical workloads, so it speeds up that review cycle. And then we're also in the process of building reference implementations as well, so the teams can pick those up and easily have a starting place for their workloads. We also have a cloud community of practice where we have representatives from across the lines of business, and we meet on a regular basis to share best practices, explain what we're doing from a cloud platform perspective, and have those teams share what they're doing in the cloud. Now, we're all familiar with AWS's shared responsibility model. They're responsible for, the workloads. I'll just build this slide out. They're responsible for security in the cloud, right? That bottom layer, the core infrastructure, the networking, the compute, the storage. Our cloud platform engineering team is responsible for the middle layer. So we've built a lot of the capabilities that I talked about, right? The automated account provisioning, our CI/CD workloads, the controls and policies that are in place to make sure that we have the proper guardrails. And then our cloud adopters sit on top of that. So the line of business application teams are able to leverage those capabilities, and they're responsible for the security of their workloads. Now, from a governance perspective, there's a lot of different areas. I'll just build this slide out. There's a lot of different areas for governance, right? So from a program management perspective, we've shifted more towards an agile approach, and this has been some growing pains across our organization, but that's critical because you want to be able to move fast in the cloud, you want to be able to fail fast, and it's very important to use agile methodologies. With that said, you also want to track projects that are cross-functional, that have multiple teams very closely and have clear ownership for those projects to move them forward. From an application portfolio management perspective, this is an area of maturity for Gilead. I will say that. We've done a good job so far, but we can do better here. We found this out as we migrated some applications where the level of criticality of the applications isn't well known, right? And that's very important for all supporting teams to understand. This application that you're touching is business critical. It needs additional white glove service in order to make sure that you maintain operations. And we're creating a repository in our CMDB where we're capturing the business criticality, and we're doing auto discovery across our AWS landscape to make sure that we're tying every resource to those business applications so that we can assess impact. We know that this resource is impacted, what business application is associated with it, and what's the criticality. Now, financial management is very important. We moved to a chargeback model to make sure that there's accountability, right? As you move to the cloud environment, it's very easy to spin up resources and forget about them. It's very easy to get, to overrun your budget. And we want to give that visibility back to our lines of business. We want them to understand where the cost is coming from and be accountable for it. So we've got all kinds of programs around this. We're heavily partnered with our enterprise support TAMs who are here. They've been a great partner in this area. We've run cost optimization competitions. This has been a great focus for us, and it's going to continue into the next year. For risk management, it's very important to have DR strategy. What is the business continuity plan for each application running in the cloud? And have tiers associated with those applications so that you can treat them appropriately. Not every application has to be active. And so, we work very closely with our DR team to make sure that applications have the appropriate level of DR and recovery capability. Now, security and compliance, obviously this is very important for us. We partner very closely with our security team at Gilead, and we're deploying Prisma this year to get cloud vulnerabilities centralized across all of our cloud platforms to make sure that we have the right accountability, assign those issues to the application teams or the cloud platform team for resolution. So what are some of our lessons learned? I'm sure you've all been through your own cloud journeys. You'll have your own lessons learned, but from a Gilead's perspective, these are some of the things that we found. There's no perfect organizational structure, right? I mean, we moved from a traditional IT structure where we had siloed, the server, the storage, networking. They were different teams. When you move to the cloud, it's a little bit different. We had a cloud platform team, and we found that it was difficult, right, to work across those different silos. So we moved a lot of those teams into the cloud organization. Because we lifted and shifted a lot of our workloads, we moved those traditional IT teams into the cloud org. Now, there's different ways to do that. We found that it's worked pretty well because a server is a server, right? If it's running on-prem or if it's running in the cloud, it still has to have the minimum security baselines to be compliant. It still has to be patched. So a lot of those institutional knowledge, we want to apply across all of our environments. But it's important to adjust, right? I mean, we tried our organizational structure and we're continually evaluating it, and we're going to adjust as necessary. One more thing on the organizational structure. We're also building more of a foundational capability within Gilead as well. So I mentioned we're heavily outsourced. This is an area that we're going to focus on to build institutional knowledge within our Gilead teams to make sure that we're not as dependent on all of the contractors all of the time. The second one is the white glove service for business critical applications, right? I mentioned this before, but I want to re-emphasize this, that it's very important as you're migrating applications to the cloud and you're supporting them, that you understand and you have tags associated. This is a critical application. This is a GXP application. This is a production environment, so that you know exactly where the critical impacts are going to be. The other thing is to have a balance between curated platform capabilities versus giving teams access to the underlying, cloud capabilities. It's very important to strike that balance. You don't want to be viewed as a blocker as an IT organization to where a team wants to use the latest and greatest and you're not letting them use it. It just has to be done responsibly. The next thing is treating cloud differently. So it is a different model, right? It's a different world than a traditional IT environment, with exceptions. And I mentioned a couple of those, right? So you've got a lot of the underlying capabilities. You've got servers, you've got storage, make sure that you're bringing those teams along, you're upskilling those teams. But there are a lot of differences too, right? So it's a new set of attack vectors because you're in a public cloud environment. You have to make sure that the services that you're deploying don't unexpectedly expose public endpoints. Your security team's going to want to have visibility to all of that traffic. So you have to make sure that you're evaluating all of those differences as you move into the cloud. Standardizing change and incident management. This is something that is very important, right? You have a standard process for your organization. You don't have to change it. There are some nuances that I mentioned, for example, the platform changes. You have to assess those, the impact for high-risk changes. The last thing is upskilling, and we tried a number of different ways to help teams get upskilled. We've found that the self-paced online learning has been the most effective, and those cloud competitions have also been very effective. So I highly recommend Skill Builder as a tool. We've used it heavily within Gilead, and it's proved very effective. With that, I'll hand it back to Chris, and again, I want to thank you for your time today. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. With Gilead, I've had the opportunity to continuously work with Kevin and his team. So let's talk about how AWS professional services can help you accelerate your cloud transformation journey. So, of course, ProServe has experience supporting thousands of customers globally. We've developed a comprehensive set of solutions to address the people, the process, and the technology changes needed to drive your success. So the enterprise, for instance, we have an AWS enterprise transformation framework. It's based on best practices that we've developed over years of customer engagements, and it's tailored to provide you with prescriptive guidance for your organization to launch and deliver value in AWS. We provide our customers with all of the mechanisms you need to accelerate your cloud transformation. It includes artifacts, playbooks, patterns, and tools to guide your organization as you mature your cloud skills and adopt new ways of work. Our core capabilities span 4 critical areas that we reviewed earlier. Digital business and strategy, which focuses on business value realization and global strategy execution. We have operations covering cloud operating models, establishing a cloud center of excellence, operational efficiency and automation, and FinOps, addressing financial cost management and process automation, and the transparency you need across the organization to your spend. People and change, it's facilitating organizational change, cultural shifts, and developing transformation leadership. Now, let's dive a bit deeper. So, the way we approach the cloud transformation are through 3 key focus areas. First, organize for accelerated transformation outcomes. As we covered earlier, this is about aligning with your business strategy, your people, your operations, with your objectives. Second, a programmatic approach, which decreases the time to value. We take a systematic approach to shape your organization for operationalizing cloud value. This includes developing a cloud operating model specific for your situation, as I talked earlier, implementing robust financial management practices, and building the necessary cloud capabilities. Then, lastly, set the foundation that's going to transform your business. This focus area is about cultivating a digital-ready culture within your organization. We help you develop new ways of working that emphasize continuous learning, digital fluency, and innovation. So let's dive in a little bit deeper. So ProServe has identified 6 key domains that maximize strategic cloud value. We help define the vision of and the roadmap to secure executive alignment and sponsorship. Our guidance on talent management and organizational design ensures proper upskilling and role definition. Culture, we assist in evolving your culture to foster a product-centric, digital-first, innovative mindset across the enterprise. And we help develop a cloud operating model with clear accountability and decision-making to unlock agility. Of course, the business and strategy, we ensure the cloud transformation aligns with your core business objectives to drive those measurable results. And then FinOps, implementing robust cloud financial management practices for cost optimization and the transparency. So by focusing on these areas, we can help organize for accelerated outcomes. As shown here, the results are significant. These metrics underscore the transformative power of a well-organized cloud strategy and program. Let's look at the next focus area. So research shows that organizations adopting a programmatic strategy achieve 7 times greater outcomes compared to those using an ad hoc approach. We start by assessing your current state and defining your target future state operating model. And during the transition, we guide you through change implementation and adoption of new practices. It's important to build a change management strategy, including communications and staffing plans that introduces incremental change that's tolerable for your organization. And in parallel, we co-develop with you to design and build your desired future state capabilities and processes with a focus on continuously improving and optimizing your cloud operating model. Essentially, what ProServe does is we teach you how to fish. This includes things such as mapping out your transformation journey end to end, managing change efficiently, and then guiding you until you're self-sufficient. So our methodology not only shortens the duration of your change, but also reduces business disruption, leading to faster and better benefits realization. Let's look at our next domain here. So we help you basically evolve your organization's culture, fostering the learning, the digital fluency, and then really driving innovation. So we leverage, what we do is we leverage proprietary analytics where we use in-depth assessments. We map your current state, identify improvement opportunities to ensure that your future state operating model is aligned with addressing those challenges that you're currently having. AWS Change Acceleration Framework. It provides a structured approach that guides you through the essential people, process, and technology changes needed to establish and maintain high velocity throughout your transformation. And then we run collaborative workshops where we facilitate interactive sessions like AWS Game Days, promoting cross-functional alignment and co-creation of your transformation roadmap. We also leverage experience-based acceleration that includes immersive exercises and role mapping to help your teams develop new skills and mindsets, as well as we use classroom training that's tailored really specific to your learning needs of your organization. And then of course, there's AWS certifications that supports upskilling your teams and validates their cloud expertise. So as we conclude, the path seems daunting. There's really no silver bullet. However, hopefully what Kevin has shared and the Gilead journey and what I've shared from best practices and perspectives is really going to help you drive your success. So remember, first define clear business objectives and work backwards from them. Next, I'd say leverage expertise, engage with professional services or a network of partners to help you accelerate and then execute on your transformation. And then third, decide on a strategy and approach. Develop a strategy that's aligned with your goals, and then establish the KPIs that are needed to be able to measure your success. And lastly, begin your enterprise transformation with execution on your plan, focusing on delivering incremental value and managing pace of change. So remember, this journey is not just a technology adoption effort. It's about reimagining your business in the cloud. By following a lot of these steps, you're setting the stage for a transformation that drives innovation, embraces efficiency, and creates new opportunities for growth. Thank you very much for your time today. Our contact information is here. We look forward to hearing from you.